viewers. This is Apex Rex, your Tachikaze veteran. I know it's been a while since my last update. I was going through a lot of health stuff. I went into diabetic ketoacidosis because my pump settings were off, my insulin pump, and my blood sugars kept getting higher and higher. And then one day it just spiraled out of control, went up to like 700. It was really bad. I was in the hospital for like 3 days. And then after that, I was just recovering. I was going through depression because my other health issues were flaring up. My celiac disease, my stomach was flaring up all the time, probably from stress. I don't know. It's just a lot to juggle. But I am back. I am ready in action, and I am bringing you a deck profile of my current V Premium main. It is Ancient Dragons. I took Spino Gaia to BCS, and it didn't go well. It didn't go well. The games I won felt so janky and high rolly. The games I lost, I felt like my own deck was the reason why it fell apart. And I just got tired of it, and so I started playing Ancient Dragons, and I felt like they were more consistent, and maybe they weren't as powerful as Spinal Guy's multi attacks, but you're relying on too many pieces for that deck, whereas Ancient Dragons, you really only need a couple of pieces to like really pop off. So I'm going to be showing you this deck today. And with that, let's go ahead and jump into the deck profile. All right, let's go ahead and get this going. We're gonna first show off our starter, Minimum Carno, best boy. As I said in previous profiles, he's got a helmet, he's breathing fire, he's got a little bit of armor, got a little jewel here. He looks all cool and stuff. So this is gonna be my starter of choice. After that, we're going to go ahead and go into the grade 3s. We're going to start off with Ancient Dragon Spino Driver, our main ride target, especially our first ride target. His ability is when he's rode upon or attacks, you can counterblast one and retire 2 rear guards to draw a card, gain imaginary gift excel, draw a card, and then you may call a card from your hand, and then you choose 2 units and gain +5. He also has a rear guard ability. Once per turn, if you check a trigger, you can gauge him, but there's no reason to gauge him, so we don't really pay attention to that. Mainly, it's for his on attack and on ride ability. You get 2 excel markers out of it. You generate multi attacks. There are a couple cards that you can combo with Spino Driver to get even more attacks off of that. Really important piece. Then following it up, we have the main aggression piece and combo piece of the deck. We have Ancient Dragon Tyranno Legend. He's a fine backup ride target if you have to, but mainly we want to call him on rear guard with Spino Driver on our vanguard. His ability is when you ride him or when you call him with the effect of an Ancient Dragon, he gains 10k in a drive. Then you may discard one to take a front trigger from your drop zone, put it on top of your deck. This deck is all about stacking fronts. We're running the True Ancient Dragon package, which I'm sure some of you know. Gains crits once per turn if you check a front trigger, so this helps you rig your front triggers. You can also call it after the Vanguard swings to rig a defensive front, which against certain highly aggressive matchups, which V Premium has a lot of, can be really helpful and can save your ass. Overall, just main focus of the deck. And then following that up, we have the finisher, air quotes. We have Spino Driver Reverse. He has 2 really strong abilities, especially the first one. The first one is when he's placed on Vanguard. You draw a card, you call a card from your hand, and you may gauge it. And if you have Spino Driver and Soul, this Spino Driver, this Spino Driver, you do that 3 times instead of 1. So huge advantage engine, +3 right off the bat. You especially this deck, you always go Excel 2. I mean, why wouldn't you? So yeah, +3 right off the bat sets up your board, especially if your opponent gun for your board, which is very common anti-Tachi strategy. This helps you replenish your resources, replenish your board. And his second ability is Act. Once per turn, if you have 4 more cards in your damage zone, you can counterblast one and lock 2 rear guards with Gauge. And then your Vanguard gains the ability, if you check a front trigger, then your front, all of your Ancient Dragons gain a crit. So you don't necessarily have to have your opponent at 5 to push them against the wall. You can swing at them either 4 or even 3 sometimes and swing for lethal doing that. So this is like a catch-up piece with the deck. Otherwise, like if you're stuck on Spino Driver, that's fine. Stacking up Spino Drivers helps you get more attacks off. um, it's just really, this is kind of a backup option. I see that more as a finisher, but it can be used as a finisher. So I think 2 of is good for that. And then we run a 1 of barrel tops, mainly because if you want to multi-attack with Baby Rex, which Superior calls a grade 3, and you've already used your Tyranno Legend, you can go ahead and call this, and it's on place. If you have an Ancient Dragon Vanguard, Counterblast 1, draw a card, and this unit gains 5k until end of turn. But his other ability, as with all true Ancient Dragons, is once per turn, if you check a front trigger, he gains +1 crit. So sometimes you want to call this out just because it's going to gain the extra crit and adds more pressure. So since it's searchable, we're just doing a 1 of that. That wraps it up for the grade 3s. Moving on, we have the grade 2s. We have more of the True Ancient Dragon package with Ancient Dragon, True Ancient Dragon Alaneros. Same ability, gains a crit if you check a front, but on place you can counterblast 1 and check the top 3 cards of your deck and call an Ancient Dragon from among them to rear guard. So remember when I was talking about Spino Driver before, you can call this with Spino Driver's ability, and then use his ability to call another rear guard down and have 2 attacks. And if you've already rigged the front, then this will be swinging for extra power and critical. So yeah, it very good multi-attack piece, good board building. That's honestly a lot of what this deck does, is build a board, multiple ways of gaining advantage and making sure that you are set, no matter, even if you're fighting retired decks, which is something I really appreciate. Then following that up, we have 2 of Hephaestus. He doesn't do much, same True Ancient Dragon ability, and he's on an additional rear guard. He gains 5k during your turn. Yeah, he's kind of a beater on Excel Circle. We mainly run him because he's another unit that will gain a crit off of checking a front and using Tyranno Legend, which I forgot to mention. You can also use Spino Driver to call Tyranno Legend from your hand, triggering his ability to rig a front. So yeah, we just want more units that gain crits when you check fronts. And then after that, we have the big beater of the deck, Ancient Dragon Dino Crowd. He says when he swings Soul Blast 1 and retire an Ancient Dragon, or no, just retire a rear guard, and then until end of battle, he gains 10k and then an additional 5k for every gauge on him. And then he has the same ability of Spino Driver. If he's on rear guard and you check a trigger, you can gauge him, which you'll actually want to do because obviously it'll gain more power that way. And you can stack that power up over multiple turns, but still just gaining 15k by itself is really strong and can help pressure the opponent, even despite it, if they hit damage triggers or not. So you usually save them for the last attack and go big number. And finally, we have a 3 of Dilopho Pyro because of this, and Ancient Dragon Spino Driver, and Baby Rex, which we're going to get to. All of them require a gauge to be able to use their abilities. So you can call this Counterblast 1 and call a card from your hand and place a gauge on it if you want to. You can also do the same thing that you can do with Lonaros with Spino Driver to get extra attacks off. But yeah, good gets you +1 and can set up the Ancient Dragons that need gauge. So I think a 3 of this is pretty good. Adds more consistency to the deck. And then we're gonna go into grade ones now. We have another huge advantage piece. We have True Ancient Dragon Terra Feed. Same True Ancient Dragon ability, gaining a crit. And then when he attacks or the attack he boosts hits a Vanguard, you can look at the top 7 cards of your deck, call up to 1 Ancient Dragon from among them to rearguard at rest. So you can, your primary ride target gains you card advantage. If you can have this and then boost it with another one, absolutely pressuring. Honestly, having one behind the Vanguard just constantly puts the added pressure to the opponent that you're going to continue building your board for following turns and snowball in advantage out tempo. So definitely 4 of, and you place on Excel Circle and it will swing 23 with a front with a crit. So yeah, um, definitely 4 of. And then next we're gonna do 3 of Baby Rex. Same regular Ancient Dragon ability of when you take a trigger, you can gauge it. And then if he's retired by the ability of an Ancient Dragon and he has a gauge, you may Soul Blast one and bind him to search your deck for up to 1 grade 3 card and call it to rearguard and shuffle your deck. So mainly we're using this to get out Tyranno Legend and trigger his ability to rig a front, or call out the barrel tops, like I said earlier. Um, yeah, it's very important to gauge him. So we another thing with Dilopho Pyro to add extra synergies to gauge him. But usually, if you don't do that, you just call him early game in the back row and wait for you to hit a trigger to go ahead and gauge it and set up. Yeah, so really that is your main extender and your main tutor for Tyranno Legend. If you have them in the deck, you call it out with this. If you have them in the hand, then you use either of the Spino drivers to call him and trigger his ability. But I think 3 of is fine because it's kind of hard to set up and you really only need it to go off like once or twice realistically. So yeah, I think 3 is a good number. And then following it up, we have the last of the grade ones, 3 of bear with me here, Light Blade Dragon Zandylopho. He has the ability of rest him to either gauge one of your rear guards from the top of your deck or move all the gauge from one rear guard to another, and then you can counterblast one and give the chosen unit 5k. The reason why I chose this over something like Savage Shooters for a couple reasons. Savage Shooter costs soul, which both this and Dino Crowd use, and you'd have no soul charging available in Tachikaze. So the soul is a really precious resource. So even though you get a +1 off of Savage Shooter, you don't want to spend that soul that can go to other cards. So I chose to run this instead. He is repeatable, and also another advantage of him over Savage Shooter. Savage Shooter can only gauge things that don't already have a gauge on him. This can buff up a Dino Crowd that already has gauge on it further, or gauge itself in another unit set up for Smile Driver Reverse and for Baby Rex. Yeah, you can run Savage Shooter in this spot if you want to, but I personally would find the conservation of soul more useful. And then lastly, the trigger lineup. It's going to be very basic. We are running 8 front because you want to see fronts as often as possible. Put them in your drop zone, set up for Tyranno Legend, just make the rest of the deck work. And for draw PG, you need a little extra draw power. You don't have to worry about deck out like in Spinal Gaia because you're not really gauging from your deck. You're just building a board, and it's not a lot of deck acceleration, so the extra draws help out. And then of course, for Heal Guardian, I know some people like to do a 2-and-2 split to run some of the 20k heals, but I just V premium is very oppressive, and if you go second, this typically will save your ass. So I want to see it as often as possible. And yeah, that about wraps up the deck profile. I hope you all enjoyed. Let me know in the comments if you think that there's anything else I could add to the deck or modify about the deck. I'm very curious to see what you see um, in the profile. And yeah, if you enjoy the content, please like and subscribe. I'm trying to get this channel as much off the ground as I can, so I appreciate anyone and everyone's support towards that. So thank you, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and or just have a good week. I wish you a good week. Send off a blessing. So yeah, with that, I hope you enjoyed, and I'll catch you in the next video.